check your stance, and nice and easy as you start off, as always. A couple of nice, slow, gentle breaths. Start by focusing your attention on really basic elements. Your weight slightly forwards, the hips dropping back, turning from your hips, the feeling of your weight sinking down. A nice settled feeling beginning to be felt. So we want to be able to move in such a way that doesn't actually, if you like, sort of shake those things up again. It's an interesting contrast. One of the old writings in Tai Chi tells us to seek the stillness within the movement. So it's like, you know, if you walk around with a bowl full of water, you have to move in a certain way, otherwise the water just gets agitated and spills everywhere. Or, you know, a cup of tea or something like that. Those sort of images can be quite helpful. It's very hard to say exactly what the quality of the movement is. We have to sort of skirt around them with images and ideas, and it's very experiential. And that development of the experience is really one of the key sort of pathways of development in Tai Chi and Qigong. And then just raising your arms. Working your weight forwards and backwards in your feet. And we quite often do this one with the arms out to the side, where I call it swaying in the river. We're going to go into that in a moment. But before we do, go back to that image of carrying a bowl of water or a tray of drinks. And some of you have done this with me in different exercises, I know, but it's still quite interesting in this one. Just hold your hands out. So if you imagine you've got the tray of drinks there and you don't want to spill them. So it's one thing to move the weight forwards and backwards, and with all that implies, you know, how far to go and what's happening in your body. But if you sort of jerk your weight forwards and backwards, then you're going to spill those drinks, which is something that we want to avoid. So the moment my arms are just sort of the top of my arms are down by my sides, my forearms are out. But then imagine there's a little table just in front of you. So as you go forwards, you also just let your arms swing out a little bit, and then not too far back. With that idea, that intent, that image of carrying the tray of drinks. Give yourself a few moments to settle into that idea. And just notice what's happening in your body. weight moving, what's happening in your hips, and then up through your back, and notice that slight change in angle between your arm and your torso. Go forward, that angle just opens out a little bit and then back. But it's not that, it's not a jerky movement. And somehow we want to try and reproduce this in all of the exercises. So there's a sort of stillness about our hands and fingers. And if you take your attention to your hands and your fingers, just feel the sensations there, because when they're not flapping around, they're actually easy. It's actually easier to get a sense for what's happening in the bones and the muscles and energy of your hands. And this time, just let your hands drop down and go into the more familiar swaying in the river. And one of the things to do through this session is just to see to what extent you can bring back that memory of this way of moving, and to see that in a way, the memory, the recollection that you can move that way affects the different exercises that we do. And then your hands come down, weight settles behind the balls of your feet. So as we know, there are different routes, different pathways of movement through the body, but we want that smooth quality, that still element. It's not just possible to be a part of all of those pathways. I'll change to the wild goose. And part in the clouds. One more. And then we're going to go back to rooting down, and we'll do them as a set of 3. So now it's not just the main part of the exercise, but it's actually the changeover from one movement to another that we feel is smooth, unhurried. That quality of stillness, I said about it in the hands, but really all the way through your body, is going to be the thing that allows you to just observe and to note what's happening within your body. So with this one, I like to think in terms of here, really feeling the expansion here in the belly, the lower back, the lower dantian as it's sometimes referred to. And at the start of the wild goose, I feel it there, but moving up towards solar plexus, lower part of the chest here, the middle dantian with chest and lungs, and then down again, and then belly, solar plexus, and finally up towards, more towards your head and the shoulders. That's the upper dantian, and smoothly down. And the transition from one to the other is important because exercise is sometimes referred to as balancing the three dantians to get a sense of, or harmonizing perhaps is a better way of describing it. You get a sense that although we describe them as being separate, they're actually as part of the same whole. And so the movement between them is connected, and we want those connections to be smooth and fluid. As always, this is not a purely physical thing. The more you can develop a sense of quietness and calmness in your mind, the more you'll be able to recognize it physically, but also vice versa, just trying to develop that quietness, that stillness, actually has a profound effect on the mind because it encourages a very deep sense of focusing in the end. Almost a sense of going beyond just being quieter and calmer, but something somehow deeper than that. We'll do this one more time. We establish these qualities in as simple a way as possible. But as we go through the different exercises, we've been doing some things recently that are quite tricky, quite complex, quite strong. And part of the challenge is, can we bring that quieter awareness to those situations? So dragon plucks the stars from the sky. Just remind yourself of that image of carrying the tray of drinks. That's particularly useful, I find, if maybe you've got a stiff shoulder, so your arm's not moving too well, and we can begin to struggle with that. We kind of hit a barrier in our body, in our mind. Sometimes, not always, sometimes you'll find that you can just change your response to that barrier through using an image or something. One more on each side. and then changing to pushing in 4 directions. A little bit harder really to maintain that continual calm flow, I think, because we're not actively using our legs and hips. We're not sinking our weight down and pushing up. We are still keeping the weight dropping down. You see my hips hanging back now, not like this, hopefully. So there is still that downward and upward movement within the body, but of course, without the actual physical dropping and raising of your hips, it's that much more difficult to recognize and to connect with. All around. And then changing. So it's when we meet those barriers that we want to try and just bring about a subtle change in our movement and how we're responding to that barrier. So we practice the ideas, the images, the approaches, different exercises, and then gradually it's like collecting a toolkit. And this time, if it's comfortable for you, you change. So which approach you use at any given time is really down to the circumstances you're in and what's appropriate. You know, it's like if you've got a toolbox, then like a hammer or a screwdriver or a saw, depending on what it is you're going to do. And then switch to the other side. And then add in the turn. And then rowing a boat in the middle of the lake. One more time. And then come back to stand. Shake hand. So as I've said before, all of these things require practice, because one of the things that we're doing is we're taking our body's natural response to an image, which we respond to imagery all the time. It's how advertising works most of the time, for instance. And actually working with that facility in body and mind and cultivating it, developing it. I first came across that image of carrying the tray of drinks from this guy who was running push hand seminars, and he was smaller than me and was another one of the many people who's been able to kind of move me all over the place, even though he was smaller than me. And he also used an image sometimes. He said if the tray of drinks doesn't work for you, he talked about pushing a supermarket trolley around, because they're really difficult, aren't they? You move your hands too much, they go all over the place. You somehow got to move around and keep your hands still. And I first realized, well, not just then, but one thing that really drove home, I suppose, the value of it was working with my main teacher, Karel Kaskuba. This is only a couple of years ago. I mean, I've worked with Karel for over 20 years now, and I can still more or less number the number of times I've managed to move him around in push hands. It's well under 20. I couldn't tell you the exact number anymore. But I was pushing hands with him, and I'm trying to push him over, and just suddenly recalled that image of carrying the tray of drinks. And as I recalled that image, my response to him changed, and he went. I mean, I caught him by surprise partly, I think, but it was interesting that the way that we program our bodies and our minds is actually very important in all sorts of areas of our lives. And I was referring to it there in terms of how we approach things within our body. When we recognize there's a tightness or a stiffness, it can be very irritating. It can be really irritating. Oh, damn, shoulders still hurt, and so on and so forth. If we can change the response to it, then maybe we can bring about a change. So feet parallel again, and start by sort of sinking up and down. And as you push up, turn, swing your arms out. And again, feel that sense of rising or falling in your body. Expansion and contraction is another way of thinking about it. Maybe filling and emptying. And particularly if you can do this with your breathing, because that same quality is something we would look to try and develop in our breath as well as in our other movements. And it might be that the breath isn't a useful way for you to work. Not everybody finds that helpful. If you do, then it's an in-breath as you push up and out-breath as you sink down. Whether or not you're consciously working with your breath, you will still be having an effect. So not that you're kind of missing out on that. Do one more of these, and then we're going to change to circling arms. So here, just turn the front hand palm up, push through. And remember, the hands actually come quite close together here. Some people even hold a ball there. I tend not to do that, but they are still close together. So the rear hand comes in towards the center line of your body, and as you turn, it ends up pushing more or less straight out from your shoulder, as close to straight as you ever get in Tai Chi, really. So this is the, if you like, the vertical circle around the center. The intent overall is to push forwards and pull back. In a moment, though, we're going to change to bear play, where there's a sort of more of a downward feeling, slightly more earthy quality to the movement, perhaps. So here, now I'm going to move my weight, coming up very slightly in the middle, almost like you're pushing a ball down into water. And as I mentioned before, that little bit of a swing in your hips and your shoulders that quite often we try and avoid, in fact, because it does sort of affect your posture and can throw your posture out. And with that, that sort of fluid quality that I've been talking about, making itself felt in your spine. So obviously be careful with this, because you don't want to twist your spine up, you don't want to put it back out. But you do want to feel that between the vertebrae, there's this little bit of movement. There are muscles there that will benefit from this, and the overall sense of energy in the spine will improve. Remember, as I've said before, the spine contains these, and the back have these major energy channels in, but also our central nervous system, very important blood vessels, so on and so forth. Your spine actually will connect to every part of your body, pretty much. So bear play. One more on each side. Shake out. Let's take a look at swimming dragon, which we started to look at the last few weeks. Again, let me emphasize, though, that an exercise that is, say, good for the back, so yeah, this is a good one for the back and the spine. What it means is it's working strongly in that area. So do be careful and do recognize that I always try and do these movements quite big, so that you can see what I'm doing. But that isn't saying that you should be doing them that big. Keep your attention on your back. If it doesn't feel right, then ease off a little bit. And particularly important, I think, with swimming dragon, which I think is quite a strong exercise. The other thing about swimming dragon is I've tended to do it with your feet hip width apart. I think it's a little bit easier to access. Traditionally, it would be done with your feet right close together, which makes it just a bit stronger and it's a bit more kind of wobbly. So choose which way to do it, but to start off with, do it with your feet hip width apart, just to sort of lead your way into it. So just stand in and start with your hips and pelvis, just tilting from side to side a little bit. So as your hips go, if you like, if I exaggerate, my hips go out to this side, my shoulders and my head go that side. And it's just this gentle curving, almost like a swimming dragon. The dragon, as I've said before, has this sort of fluid, serpent-like quality. So if you've got an image of something like a snake swimming in water or something like that, that's the appropriate sort of image that we're looking for. And again, we're going to be moving around 3 areas: the lower, the middle, and the upper dantian. You can just imagine them as 3 circles: one between hips and waist, another around your solar plexus, and another around your head. Hold your hands together in this almost prayer-like position, and just hold them in a comfortable position to begin with. As your hips go one way, notice how your wrists flex and extend. And again, this is quite tight. So if your wrists are tight, you won't get anything like as much movement. And then just drop your hips a little bit. You may lean forward a little, but not too much. Go down below that first circle, about level with your hips, go in one direction, and then go the other way, come up between waist and solar plexus, and then between that middle circle and your throat, about the level of the throat, and then a little bit above your head, which is probably the strongest one. And then you come back down towards your throat, pointing the fingers, so moving the wrists, and then just below the solar plexus and the hips. So once you've got the movement, if you want to bring your feet closer together as I just have, then do that. It makes it a little bit trickier to get that dropping down. So be careful. Try and keep your body fairly upright here. So if you watch here, what I don't want to do is this. I want to drop down. And obviously there'll be a bit of a bend in the back because the pelvis is tilting back. Don't worry about that. Swimming dragon. Think about that quality of movement, carrying the tray of drinks. Can you get that into this undoubtedly very tricky exercise? One more in this direction. This is what's happening in your ribs, your shoulders. You don't want your shoulders to tighten up. If they are, then go back to the parallel stance, but the wider stance if you've been using the lower stance. And this time, when you get to the lowest point, simply move the other way. And again, go back to the wider stance if that's better for you. Remember, the effect we're looking for is that fluid quality, combination of movement and stillness, particularly in your back. So go nice and easy. And move in a way that helps you achieve that quality rather than thinking, I've got to do this big or in this way or something like that. Let the awareness of the quality of the movement guide how you're moving. And then just bring your feet parallel. Let your hips drop and turn in just to loosen up the spine. Not too big a movement, bouncing a little bit, so shaking out your back a little. Good, and shake out. Now, many of the movements that we do in these sessions would require your shoulders and your hips to stay in line. So for instance, when we do, say, the step-in here, what you don't want to do is this, because you'll go over. So we need that structural alignment. And we have a certain amount of flexibility in that, but swimming dragon doesn't put the body in itself in a position of strength, shall we say, internal strength. But what we can do is to remember that the spine can actually move. So have one foot forwards. Try and get, or try and recall, a sense of that energy in your back. And maybe combine it with an image of moving through water. So, as I say, we're not doing any of this. Keeping a good structure, a with alignment in our body, but feeling the movement within the body, feeling the energy within the body. Or maybe not feeling it, maybe just a memory of one of the other exercises where you did feel it. Don't be in a hurry and don't think, well, okay, if I do this, then maybe it will happen. It doesn't work like that. It's a very subtle process. And again, I think this is where the approach in Tai Chi is different to how other forms of exercise, many other forms of exercise will work. Again, it's not a criticism of other disciplines, but it's important to realize it's not just down to, if you like, physical technique. Using your toes and your heel. When you put your heel down, when you put your toes down, gentle push into the ground. And as you do that, just let the soles of your feet and your toes soften. And then stepping in. Sometimes you'll see me, I get to here, and as my foot comes in, I feel a bit wobbly. I'll just put my foot down, just find the ground again. Good. And then on the other side. Raising your toes and your heel. Stepping in. So that softer quality, that more fluid quality, is an important part of the development of the internal strength. And bring your foot in, forwards or backwards, depending on where you've got the space, just taking a couple of steps. Just as many as you have room for. So I'm going to start going backwards now. As I said, the front foot will be slightly turned out for many people. Depends exactly how your hips are working. Now, bring your hands around into the tray holding position. Imagine carrying a tray of drinks or pushing a supermarket trolley if that suits you better. And once again, take a few steps. Okay, and shake out. So there's a direct relationship between the things that I'm talking about and this stronger quality that develops within the body. As always, that is something that has its origins really in the martial aspect of Tai Chi, but something that I think is significant in all sorts of areas of life. It's not about the fight. But a couple of years ago, in one of my seated classes, mostly populated by very frail people, very enthusiastic, were great. But I had one guy come who was coming to one of my more advanced classes, and I was trying to get them out of this flappy hands thing that can develop so easily in Tai Chi. So I talked about this idea of carrying the tray of drinks, and he was a biggish guy too. And I demonstrated. I got him to take hold of my hands like this, and I couldn't move him with my hands, but I did this, and he went. I mean, he was cooperating with me and everything. I just wanted to show it. And next week, one of the ladies came back and said, "You know that thing with the tea tray?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "I tried it on my husband and it worked." So I was a bit worried by that because I thought I might be getting an angry phone call from my husband saying my wife's pushing me around. But it was quite funny really because I wasn't expecting them to go home and try it. But so don't necessarily try this one at home, or at least don't necessarily try it on somebody. It isn't necessarily going to work anyway. Okay, so have your right foot forwards. Remember that quality of movement, both the stillness and that sense of movement in your spine. And then from your spine, just out through the bones of your arms, into your hands and your fingers. This time change into fisherman cast a net. Keep going. I'm going to come a little bit closer because I want you to see when I come through. Can you see my hand there? It's a little bit high actually. Just go back, but it's the fingers are separate. It's not this tight and rigid. It's soft. Fingers are slightly bent, curved over. The thumb is, you see the space between the thumb. Don't jut your thumb out like that. Curl your thumb in slightly, as though you just, as though you were moving in water. Actually, it's a pretty accurate image. And then pushing away. Good. Now bring your hands down again, linking them up. 3 movements, joining together. As you get used to the sequence, let your mind recall whichever of these images of movement, of fluidity, of stillness actually are meaningful to you. They all offer something something slightly different, of course, different perspectives on the same thing. Just one more time. Now go forwards. Go into your back foot, which should be your left foot. Drop your left hand down, leaving the right hand out in front, expanding or filling, and then going forwards, emptying, combining that circling arms with the transfer of your weight, repulsing the monkey. So if you think about a movement like bear play, a lot of movement there, a lot of energy, a lot of power there, if you want to think of it in those terms. Similarly with this one, but now much more aware of keeping a structure through which that energy can move. Okay, shake out. So have your left foot forwards. I say that actually, it depends. What I'm asking you to do when I say this is to mirror my movements. So you know, if my right hand is there, it would be your left hand. But we all learn slightly differently. So some people can mirror, some people can't. In my experience, it's just how we're different. You can learn both ways of doing it. Of course, you can learn to mirror. Mirroring gives you the advantage that you can really see, sort of line yourself up quite precisely. So if it doesn't suit you to mirror, then don't. If it's too confusing, some people find that they try and do a mirror and somehow the brain turns it around, so they end up doing the complete opposite of what they should be doing. So we learn in the way that is best for us, but it doesn't mean that you won't be able to mirror. Try it sometimes, because it can be a useful technique in my experience. Start with your weight back, hands out to your sides. Now change to fisherman cast a net. And pushing the wave. And then the three in a little sequence. One more round. And repulse the monkey. Or it's going back here, remember, and then forwards, center turning, with a connection from hips to shoulders. Don't hurry. Rest here with your weight back until the hands are in position. Go forwards. Rest with your weight forwards as you turn and bring your hand into position. No rush. Bring your feet parallel. Bring your hands around as though they're holding the ball. Sink down. Push up through the movement through the belly, chest, and into your shoulders and your head. 3 down to the end and then down again. If you want to follow the breathing, breathing in as you push up, breathing out as you sink down. And the same sequence. When you breathe in, you feel it first in your belly, then in your solar plexus, then in the top part of your chest. Your body acting like a bellows, expanding from the base, drawing the air down into your lungs, filling your lungs. If you are following the breathing, you might only want to do it once or twice, that's fine. But notice that fresher, sharper quality in the in-breath compared to the slightly warmer, murkier quality in the out-breath. Use the image of the spring mist being like the in-breath, the autumn fog being like the out-breath, if that's a good image. Just trying to feel that really changes the sensations and the feelings within your body, your mind. So you gradually develop that fresher quality. If there's a part of your body that doesn't seem to be joining in with that, think about that softer approach. Can we change our response to that barrier? Kind of approach encapsulated in images like carrying the tray of drinks, pushing the supermarket trolley, a quieter sense. Particularly important in your arms and your hands. Very easy to stand down, your arms going in and out, but remember, see the movement in my body as I do this. Expanding from the ground upwards, contracting back into the ground. And then this time, just let your hips drop a little bit, rubbing your hands together. Tapping over your face. Over your head and your neck. Down to one shoulder and your arm. And the other side. Your back. Around your hips. Legs, sides and back as you go down, inside that, in the part of the leg and the front as you come up. Light on your belly. And then the upper part of your chest. It suits you to go a little bit stronger on the upper part of your chest. Another thing you can do with this one is take a deep breath in. Remember, belly first, fill in, lungs down. Nice, cool. Big breath out through your mouth. Shake out. So now embrace tiger, return to mountain. Sinking your hips. So we don't want to lose that sense of vibrancy, but we don't want it to become manic. And so we really look here for that sense of quietening, of settling. Try not to see these qualities as either or. One of the things we look to do in arts like Tai Chi is to bring all of those qualities into one thing. It's not sort of like stillness or movement, but the stillness within the movement. It's not just sort of like vibrant and active or nothing, the resting, falling asleep. It's rather the essence of both of those is part of one thing. One more time. And stand. Shake out. Thank you very much, everybody. So play around with those